Good morning, children. How are you all? I hope you are all staying safe, right? In the last class, we were continuing, right? We had completed more than half of the lesson number 9, a book of simple living, right? So, did you all go through the lesson till whatever we have done? Hope you have done. At least you have gone through once, I hope. So let's continue with page number 65. Okay, we had just stopped there, right? So let's continue. I think the best advice I ever had was contained in these lines from Shakespeare, which my father had copied into one of my notebooks when I was 9 years old. So he says the best advice that he had ever got in his life was taken from the lines of Shakespeare, which his father, who's the author's father, had once copied Shakespeare's lines. And he had just copied it into the author's notebook when the author was just 9 years old. As you know, Shakespeare, who is Shakespeare? Shakespeare is a great, you can call him as the king of literature, right? He has written a lot of sonnets, poems, and a lot of such writings, okay? So this is few of his lines, Shakespeare's lines, which his author's father had written in his book. This above all to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night of the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. What does these lines mean? This means, this above all to thine own self be true. So he says, above all, the thing is, what is it? To be true to their own self. And then, how should we all be true to ourselves? It should be like how the night follows the day, like every day without any stop. You have day, the morning, the sun rises, and again the sunrise is followed by sunset and the night, right? There is no break for it. So similarly should be how we should be true to our own self. There should be no break for that. Thou canst not then be false to any man. It's canst means it's nothing but another form of can. Okay, so it means they cannot then be false to any man. So once we are so stick to that routine of being true to ourselves, so we cannot there's no chance of cheating another man. They can't be false to any man. Okay, let's continue. Each one of us is a mass of imperfections, and to be able to recognize and live with our imperfections, our basic natures, defects of genes and birth, makes, I think, for an easier transit on life's journey. So what does this para says? It says that each one of us is a mass of imperfections. That means each one of us have our own imperfections, right? In one or the other way. No one is perfect. And it's able to be recognized and to live with those imperfections. Okay? So we are living day, we are just going through every single day with all these imperfections, right? And we are, learning day by day, right? We are recognizing these facts, our imperfections, and we are living. So our basic natures, defect of genes and birth makes, I think, for an easier transit of life journey. So learning or, recognizing and living about all our perfections, maybe our nature, how we are, our characters, the defects of genes, or people with physically handicapped, mentally handicapped, and other also, right? People who are actually having highly maybe short tempered, people who are introverts, right? Everything, all these defects. So recognizing these defects and living is actually making easier, our life's journey is becoming easier, right? First, when we understand ourselves, it's better to live. Let's move on to the next para. High in the spruce tree, the barbet calls, heralding summer. A few puffy clouds drift lazily over the mountains. Is this the great escape? So what does it say? High in the spruce tree. So spruce tree is a type of tree. And on top of the spruce tree, this barbet calls. Barbet is a type of bird. And it calls, means it cries, calls heralding summer. That means it just calls the coming summer. Okay, the summer which had to come further. So in a few days, maybe it was just he's explaining each and every season, right? So he is explaining, or the barbet is welcoming the coming summer. A few puffy clouds drift lazily over the mountains. That means a few of the clouds, which were really clouds are obviously puffy, right? And they are lazily over the mountains. They drift lazily over the mountains means they rise. You can find some of the clouds that are rising above the mountains here and there. And it's a question here. Is this the great escape? So again he's questioning, like, is this the great escape of the the clouds, because it's summer, so maybe the clouds are trying to escape from the summer, so they are very lazy, but still they are found here and there above the mountains. At some time during the day, I must put pen to paper and produce something readable. There's not much money left in the bank. So he says, some time during his day, he must put pen to papers. That means he had to write something and he had to produce something which is readable. That means he is a writer, as we know, right? So he has to write some maybe novels or something, some stories, poem, something, and that's because that's the basic earning for him. So he says there's not much money left in the bank. So he says there's no money or not much money in the bank, so I have to force myself to write something to earn some money. Yes, but look at the honeybees. Look at them push their way through the pursed lips of the antherinum and disappear completely. A few minutes later, they staggered out again, bottoms first. So what is it trying to do? He is looking at honeybees and he is taking some motivation from them. Why? He says, look at them, push their way through the pursed lips of antherinum and disappear completely. That means, you may have studied or heard of these insectivorous plants, right? This antherinum is such an insectivorous plant which you can see that it keeps, it's like a flower when it is open, but all of a sudden when it attracts all the insects like honeybees and houseflies and other flies, and once the flies goes thinking it's a flower, it just closes its mouth. It's like a mouth open, okay? It closes and then it's trapped. The insect is trapped inside and it feeds on it. So this is how insectivorous plants are getting their nutrition. So he is trying to say that one such honeybee, he could see that not only one, maybe a lot of honeybees, they actually push their way to through the pursed lips of Antirrhinum and disappears completely. That means even if they have caught inside that Antirrhinum flower or insectivorous plant, it just pushes from its mouth, the lip, and it just comes out, it escapes and disappears completely, means it just escapes and run away or flies away. A few minutes later, they stagger out again, bottoms first. So again, after a few minutes, what happens? They just go again inside and they come out again. So this is the process that's keep on happening. That means they don't lose their hopes. They just keep on trying to come out, and they come out, escape. So I think Tolstoy summed it all up when he said, "One ought only to write when one leaves a piece of one's flesh in the ink pot each time one dips one pen." So you can see a lot of ones there. So what is he trying to say? He says, maybe that's why I think Tolstoy is again a great famous literature who is a writer, great writer. Okay, so Tolstoy summed it all up when he said, what did he say? He says, one ought only to write. So that means one can only write when one leaves a piece of one's flesh in the ink pot each time one dips one pen. So that means one can only write when or the one who can write is only the one who actually can leave a piece of his own flesh into the ink pot each time when we dip the ink pen into the ink pot. That means there's some difficulties to be faced, and then only he can write smoothly. Okay, so he says one can write only who can write is the one only who can put like a piece of his flesh can be sacrificed into the ink pot when he dips into the thing, and then only he can write continuously, right? That means who faces all the difficulties can only get a final result. Who are ready to face the difficulties can get into a good result. To which I might humbly add, there is something to be said for ink pots and the hand that holds the pen. It must be far more difficult to share one's body and soul with a typewriter or computer. I abandoned the typewriters long ago. So he says, now these were the lines that Tolstoy had put into, right? Like a phrase. So here he is telling that now I would like to add up humbly with those lines. What does he say? This author is liking to just add on few words or sentence saying there is something to be said for ink pots and the hand that holds the pen. So he wants to say something about the ink pots and the hand that is holding the pen. It must be far more difficult to share one's body and soul with a typewriter or computer. He says, so with ink pots and ink pens and the flesh into the ink pots, that's far better, he says, compared to the one where one's body and soul is shared to a typewriter or computer. That means he actually likes to write with a pen and paper, but not type with typewriter or computer, though it's the easier way, but still he feels happy or satisfied when he writes on a paper than typing on a computer or a typewriter. So he says he has actually abandoned means he has stopped using the typewriter long ago. There is something physical, intimate about writing by hand. It takes me back to my childhood when I was first learning to write letters and join them together. When I had any difficulties, my father would put his hand on mine and guide it along the page. So, what does the author say? The author is saying that I have, as he have told before, that he has stopped using the typewriters or computer, and he likes using pen and paper because he says there is some physical and intimate means some feelings, some attachment towards writing by hand. So whenever he writes using his hand, that means pen and paper, he gets more satisfied, he gets more happier, he becomes more happier when he writes than him typing on the computer. It takes me back to my childhood. Why is it? Because whenever he writes, he thinks, or he just goes back to his childhood days where he first learned writing letters and then joining all of them together to make sentences, then to paragraphs, right? So all these are the memories that he gets back when he uses the pen and paper. That means whenever he writes. When I had any difficulty, my father would put his hand on mine and guide it along the page. And also he gets back the memories of his father helping him out whenever he faced difficulty, holding his hand and helping him to write on the paper, guiding him. Now, his hands is still there. I feel it now even as I write. He says he can feel his father's hand even if after growing up so big, he still, whenever he writes, he can feel that like his father is holding his hand and helping him to write. So he is enjoying that that imagination there. And may loving long gone hands touch yours, dear reader, we are not alone. So he says, and may the loving long gone hands touch yours, dear reader, we are not alone. So he is trying to convey us. What does he say? He says he also hopes or wishes the readers are nothing but us, right, who is reading the story. He says even for us that let all the loving long gone hands, that means whoever had actually helped us to write or learn, or anyone, all our loved ones, right, still the blessings of them is always upon us. So we are not alone anywhere or any time. We are always blessed by our elders or loved ones, is what he is trying to tell. And excerpts from a book of Simple Living by Ruskin Bond. Excerpts means a part of story from a book of Simple Living. So this is the story written by Ruskin Bond, and he was the one who all went through these situations here, right? So I hope you have understood the lesson. I know it's a bit difficult words, and you have a different way of writing, and also the English may also seem different. This is because Ruskin Bond is a famous writer. Okay, he has taken the Shakespearean words as well, which is extremely different way of writing. So you may seem it a bit hard, but better go through it once or twice. You will get into touch with the this type of writings as well. So hope you have understood. Read once or twice, again and again. Read each para. Underline the meaning words and write down the meanings then and there. Okay, children. So let's wind up the class. Let's meet in the next class. Till then, take care and bye.